this Ranger Pathfinder build is just crazy. With Shattering Concoction, you can just clear maps so easily and almost one-shot every boss. Not just the map bosses, but also on Pinnacle bosses. This build performs really well. Don't forget to subscribe. Hello guys, my name is Will and welcome to one more video about Path of Exile 2. Hope you guys are alright, and we are talking about a Ranger Pathfinder build with Shattering Concoction, alright? So you have several types of concoctions you can choose while you're playing Pathfinder. On this one, we just need Shattering Concoction, and you can clear maps with just a single skill. The other two skills, we're just gonna use them for bosses, and when I say bosses, I mean hard bosses. If you are just killing a map boss, you can just kill it with Shattering Concoction. If it's a Pinnacle one with a higher difficulty, then Hypothermia and Eye of the Winter will just help to increase all of that damage and kill it faster. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about will be the skill gems. I'll talk about the passive tree, equipment, everything that you need, and you guys will also be able to find a guide with everything that you need to know about this build, and this way will be easier for you to follow this guide and this video as well. If you have any other questions, you guys know, you can just comment below. I'll be happy to help you. Alright, so let's start with the skill gems, and I will be talking about some more stuff while I'm recording this video and explaining everything. So at the moment I'm level 90, so you will not have 5 slots until you reach 90. If you are around 80s, 70s, 80s, you only have 4 slots. When you reach 90, you unlock a 5th slot. Alright, so it's not a great thing, but of course will increase your damage. At the moment I have 143k base damage. Of course this scatter shot is taking a lot of damage. If I remove it, it goes to 225k. But this support gem for Shattering Concoction is the best one for every concoction that you want to play. Basically because it fires 2 additional projectiles, so it means that I will be doing 143k times 3, alright, because it's 3 projectiles will be this one, plus 2, each one will do 143, so it'll be 280, 420k damage, that's how much I'm gonna do. Then we have Martial Tempo to increase attack speed, we have Cold Mastery since we are using basically cold skills to increase the damage of this one. We have Super Critical because this is a build with a lot of critical hit chance, and this one it's completely worth it. It reduces 20% less critical chance, but it gives me 1% more critical damage bonus. At the moment I have 45%, and eventually if I reach 100 or 90 something, I can have even more crit chance. And lastly, this one, when I reach the 5th slot, you can use Close Combat. Basically because most of the skills I'm using will be close to the enemies, and this will increase 25% more damage. Then the other active skills we are using will be Hypothermia. This one you only need to use against bosses. It will just reduce the cold resistance of that boss. Try to use the lowest level as possible. I'm using level 13 because you don't want to deplete all your mana. If you follow these guides and this build, you'll have a lot of mana. I have 1122, which is a lot. So on this Hypothermia, we are using 8-node Curse to increase the effect of this curse. We are using supported skills Inflict Decay, so it will deal 60% of intelligence as chaos damage per 8 seconds, it's just some extra damage. And we have more skill effect duration. This way this curse will be on the boss or any other enemy longer. Alright, and then we are using Eye of the Winter. This will be other active skill you can use while you're clearing maps. You can use Eye of the Winter here. As you guys see, I'm using Frost Wall. I'll explain why, but you could use Eye of the Winter here. Alright, I have 2, so you can use this one here and this one here, but I'm gonna explain why I have Frost Wall there and not Eye of the Winter. So talking about Eye of the Winter, this is the active one that you will need to use on the boss. Basically, the Eye of the Winter will inflict critical weakness, and this one will increase the chance to do a critical hit on that target, which will probably be a boss. Alright, and I don't have Eye of the Winter on cast on critical because I already have 45% crit chance. If I throw this with cast on critical, that will reach 65%, which is a lot, and I will cast Eye of the Winter a lot and will deplete all my mana. I will have 0 mana really fast, and instead of doing more damage, of course I'll do more crits, will be more damage, but then I feel it's not so much effective like with Frostwall. And I'll explain how it works with Frostwall. So with Eye of the Winter, basically when I start the boss, I cast Hypothermia and then Eye of the Winter, and I only recast I only use these skills again when I see that those debuffs on buff disappeared. Alright, so I'll just cast this when I need to apply these debuffs once again. So on Eye of the Winter we are using Unleash, so basically when you cast it, you can cast twice. If you have the 2 seals you can cast twice, so if you cast twice, the chance to inflict this critical weakness will be higher and faster, since we are firing more projectiles. Instead of 8 charged projectiles will be 16. And we have cold exposure, so since we have a lot of critical hit, with this one we'll inflict cold exposure to increasing our debuffs. We have inevitable critical, so since with critical hits we inflict cold exposure, if we have more critical hit chance, will be a higher chance to inflict this cold exposure, and that's why I'm using this one. And lastly, we have Stripped Away, just to increase the exposure from this skill I'm using, alright? So, all the other skills, as you guys can see, are only buffs, and I switch them between bosses and clearing maps. When I'm clearing a map, I use Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, Grim Fist, cast on critical. When I'm killing a boss, I deactivate these two and activate Alchemist Boon and with Dancer, just to give a little bit more of dodge rating, the evasion rating, and Alchemist Boon to increase the charges per second on our flasks. So let's talk about cast of critical first, regarding that situation of Eye of the Critical. So there's a lot of people that use Eye of the Winter here, and this will be pretty good. You will cast this a lot, and the first time you cast Eye of the Winter will increase even more the chance to apply critical hits and activate cast on critical again. But the problem with Eye of the Winter is that it will deplete your mana really fast, and I don't feel like it's worth it. Alright? So the way I'm doing this is using Frost Wall. So Frost Wall does a lot of damage. As you guys can see, I'm using this one, it's a 20. It does 289 and it adds more 50% more freeze build-up. Alright? And then if you explode it, will do damage everything around, and you can cast 3 at once. Alright? Then I have energy retention. Just to refund half of the energy cost, I will have this chance to refund half of the energy cost. 40% less cost, and impetus to increase the energy gained. And this one, which works pretty well with Frost Wall. Basically, this one will do a copy of the Frost Wall, so instead of casting one wall, will be 2 walls, and also will be a bigger area of effect. So the bigger a Frost Wall is, the more damage will do, and you guys can see on the videos, when I'm fighting a boss, the moment I cast those Frost Walls, then I explode them right away, they do insanely damage. And I've been testing, I tested with Eye of the Winter and Frost Wall, and I feel like Frost Wall is much more effective, it does more damage, and it builds more freeze build-up, and if you have your enemy, your boss, more freezed much more often, it reduces the damage or the chance the damage it can cause to you. With Eye of the Winter, you will have more critical all the time, but since I'm using it on the active skill, basically I'm just making sure I use Eye of the Winter and Hypothermia to apply those debuffs, and I only cast them once again if I need to apply those debuffs again. Alright? Besides that, I use cast on critical with Frost Wall, and it does an insane good amount of damage. Of course, when you're clearing a map, you can replace it with Eye of the Winter, get one with a low level. Alright, so I'm using a 13 level. Since I'm using this quiver and this bow, it will increase my projectile levels a lot. And Eye of the Winter is also a projectile, so will be a level 23 and will spend a lot of mana. 186. As you guys can see, the Frost Wall, it's 90 mana, it's much less than that, and since we are using 40% less, will be around 60 mana, and I mean, since I have 1100 mana, it will be really hard to deplete all my mana with the Frost Walls, and this way I think will be much more effective and is doing much better damage. Then we use Grim Fist. Since I'm doing a build with Energy Shield, I only have Energy Shield. This Grim Fist, when you kill those enemies, they have a chance to spawn these Grim Remnants and recover on 197 Energy Shield. So with Grim Fist, you can double your shield, so I can have until 6200 shield, which is a lot. Then, also when I'm clearing maps, I use Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder. You guys probably already know about this mechanic, this works pretty well. So, since I'm using Shattering Concoction, and this one has plus 11% to critical chance and more freeze build up, so basically when I cast this on the enemies, they will be freezed and they will shatter. So when they shatter, we have this skill with 25% more damage as extra lightning damage. We have 100% more chance to shock, we have more area of effect, more magnitude of shocks, and more lightning damage on killing a shocked enemy. So with Herald of Ice, when you use Shattering Concoction, we'll activate Herald of Ice, it will shatter the enemies, they will explode, and they will cause shock to the enemies close to those ones. So the moment they are shocked, it will activate Herald of Thunder, and the Herald of Thunder will do damage as extra cold damage with this support gem, will add more freeze build-up, more attack damage to enemies further than 7 meters, more critical chance against enemies that are on full life, and cold damage when freezing enemies. So since we are using this one with more cold damage, it means when this skill is activated and drops these bolts of lightning damage, they will have a chance to freeze those enemies and shatter them, and it will activate once again Herald of Ice, and it's basically a snowball effect. Each buff will activate the other one until you don't have any enemies close to them. So it's how it works, and it works pretty well. Most of the classes, they are using this method because I think it's one of the most effective ones to use on this meta. When fighting a boss, I deactivate these two, Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder, and activate these two. Alright, so we are using Windesser. This will give us 90% more evasion rating per stage. We can have until 4 stages, will be a lot more evasion rating. We have Blind, just to increase the chance to blind enemies when they manage to hit us. We have Maim on it to slow them down if they manage to hit us. And we have Alchemist Boon, this one with 30% increased mana regeneration. This one will grant us flasks per second, alright? And this is only helpful when you're fighting a boss, because while you're killing all the other monsters, while you're doing maps, or even while you're doing the Delirium, or even while you're doing the Delirium endgame content, you should be fine, because every time you kill those enemies, you will regenerate mana flasks. While you're attacking a boss, you don't regenerate much flasks, but you can get that with passive skills and equipment that I'll talk about. So now let's talk about the passive tree, alright? So on the passive tree, we have Shattering Concoction. On our Ascendancy, we have more charge gained. So these ones, since we are using that buff, it will help to gain more charges with this tree, this Ascendancy passive point. We have more skill points with these ones, and we have less movement speed penalty while using skills while moving, alright? So we're gonna, basically, while you're clearing maps, you are using Shattering Concoction, just spamming it, and you keep running and clear everything. It's pretty fast and pretty effective. Then we're gonna start going this way with some projectile damage. We run these ones with Quiver, because we are using this Quiver here, alright? So we really want those +2 level to all projectile skills to increase the level of our Concoction skill, which will be a projectile skill. Then we have these ones to increase our evasion rating. Since we are using Chaos Inoculation, we only have 1 HP, so we'll be full HP or dead, basically. So with this one, we are getting 50% increased evasion rating. With this note here, we have Subterfuge Mask, so if we are using Helmet with Energy Shield, which I'm using at the moment, for each 1 maximum energy shield, we get +2 evasion rating, so we'll have more dodge, more evasion rating. Then on this one, I'm using this jewel, which is a controlled metamorphosis diamond. And this one, you want to find one with medium large ring, alright? So if you are using this one, on these ones, every node on this range, you will be able to get those without having to connect them, alright? So I'm using this one to increase attack speed with dexterity, more evasion rating, attack movement speed, attack damage, evasion rating with from equipped body armor, and plus 25 to dexterity, alright? Then we have these nodes with critical hits and critical damage bonus. We have this one that will increase 50% more cold damage and lightning damage as well, because we are using both heralds. We are using these nodes here, alright? These ones are pretty good. These ones, since we are using unarmed attacks, which are flasks, these ones will increase our damage a lot, and area of effect as well. As jewels, try to use emerald or sapphires are equally good. So sapphires can give you more energy shield, more critical hit chance, which are very good. And since we are using cast on critical triggered spells, dealing increased damage will help a lot as well while you're clearing maps. Then on jewels, on the emeralds, evasion rating, projectile damage, and especially the bonuses gained from equipped quiver are the best ones you can get, because with this will increase even more the level of all projectile skills, which is very good, and it's what we need to increase the damage from our Shattering concoction. Then we are going this side, we have some damage penetrate cold resistance and lightning resistance. We have more projectile damage here and more movement speed. So this one Severing is pretty good, 20% chance for flasks you use to not consume charges, so we'll have 20% chance every time you use concoction. It supposedly will use 3 charges, and this way we'll have this 20% chance to not consume charges at all, and this way will be more easier to sustain all our casts from Shattering concoction. Then we are using Eternal Youth, since we don't have energy, we don't have life and only energy shield, we can recover energy shields with our flasks. We have the Spectral Ward, so for each 12 evasion rating on our equipped body armor, we get more energy shield. Then we have these ones, okay, these ones with critical strike and critical damage. They are very important for this build as well. Then we have this Pagdification, which is the instilled I had on my amulets before, so I just didn't remove it yet. But the one you want to use for this build is the Storm Charged, alright? So the Storm Charged, with its here, it will increase 20% more your critical hit chance, and also increase the elemental damage if you dealt a critical hit recently, alright? So it will increase 40% more elemental damage with your cold damage and also critical hit chance. This is the best one you can get. I'm using this one that will increase my movement speed. I don't need chaos damage, but it will increase my attributes, and since I'm using End of Duism, it can still increase a little bit of my damage. As you guys can see, I have 133. If I reduce it, it goes to 125. It's less 8k damage, but I'm pretty sure if I was using this one, will be much better. Will increase my critical hit chance and critical damage bonus. So keep in mind, guys, use Storm Charged if you want to instill your amulet, alright? Then I'm using this jewel, the Time Lost Diamond. This one will grant 4% increased dexterity to all the big nodes around. So this one, and this one, each one are giving me more increased dexterity. And since I'm using End of the Wisdom, will increase my attack speed. Then we have some more critical hit chance nodes. We have more freeze build-up with these ones and more damage against freezed enemies. We have Chaos Inoculation, so with this build you are immune to chaos damage. We have one Sapphire, this one is pretty good, I already talked about that. We have more intelligence and more energy shield, 60% more here. And finally, we have all of these cold nodes, increasing our level of cold skills, cold resistance, cold exposure, and a few of cold damage and penetration of cold resistance. So this is basically the build. You guys can check on the link below on Mobalytics, and will be much easier for you to follow this up. So now it's time to talk about the equipment. We already talked about the skill gems, passive tree, now it's time to talk about the equipment. So first thing, you want Widow Hail, alright? This will be the best bow you can get for these builds. Every build with Concoction, basically, this is the best bow you can use. Try to find one with this bonus as high as possible. So I have one with 260 weight. If you can afford for a bigger one, 270, 280, your damage will skyrocket. All right. The ones you want to use, all right. The runes you want to use on these ones will be the Soul Cores of Tikaba. They will increase your critical damage bonus, and since we are using a build with critical damage, this is pretty good. Then on the quiver, you really want to find one, especially with level of all projectile skills. We really want this. We really want critical chance. We really want critical damage bonus. Those are the best and most important modifiers on your quiver. And then if they had even more damage, will be really good as well. The best quiver you want to get will be a visceral one, because they already give you an implicit of critical chance, which will increase your critical chance. We love critical chance with these builds. Then for the rings, we are using this one with more cold damage, lightning damage, elemental resistances. Try to have your resistances kept at least 90%. At the moment I have something like that, 91, 150, 104. I have this negative, but I'm immune to case damage, so makes no difference to me. This one, more physical damage, lightning damage. I mean, if you manage to have one with physical or just physical is the best one because it scales with everything. Cold damage will be good as well. And then we have some dexterity attributes. Since we are using Hand of the Wisdom, are really good as well, because it will increase dexterity, will increase attack speed, intelligence will increase damage to attacks. Then on the amulet, you really want one with maximum energy shield. Maximum and increased maximum will be really good. Keep in mind, for this build you need at least 196 spirit. So I have 50 on my amulet, then I have 54 on my body armor, so you really need this spirit. We have more all attributes, strength, we don't really need to this build, and we have lightning resistance. Then on the body armor, as I said, spirit. If you can find one with spirit and just evasion, so full evasion rating with like 2000 something, will be pretty good, but those are very expensive. These ones are much more cheaper, so will be easy for you to get one of these. More resistances. Then our shoes or boots, we have evasion and energy shield. Resistances, once again, you really want to have the highest movement speed you can get, 35. It's really good. Then on the belt, this is a very important item as well. You really want to find one with reduced flask charges used. So besides our passive tree, we also have this belt that can reduce the flask charges used, alright? And with this, every time you cast Concoction, there's a chance you don't use flasks or use less charges, alright? Also, on the implicit, there's better belts you can find, those ones that can give you flasks or can recharge flasks per second are the best ones you can get if they have reduced flask charge used as well. But well, for the price, I think this was the best one I could get. Then we have the Hand of the Wisdom. So basically this one drops on the breach boss, and it will increase your intelligence, dexterity, and for 10 intelligence and 25 dexterity will increase your attack speed and lightning damage to attacks. And finally, we have our flasks. So this one, just try to find the best you can. If you have one with instantly recover, those are the best ones for your life. On this case, for our energy shield. Then for the mana, this one is very important as well. You really want to find one when increase the charges. As you guys can see, I have 127. Without this suffix, I have only 75. With this suffix, I have 127. Alright, so it goes to 75%. As you guys can see, 75%. It's pretty good, and this way you'll have more charges to spend and to damage the boss. Alright. So, I think I already talked about everything, guys. As I said, this build is pretty easy to play. You just need to swap between spells, between buffs. One easy way, so when you start fighting a boss, if you forget to swap your buffs, one easy way is to press your P key shortcut and go to your passive tree, and then here you will have your game will be paused, and here you can swap between the buffs that you want to swap. So you can reactivate Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder to clear a map, and Alchemist Boon and with Dancer to kill a boss. As I said before, Frost Wall will be really good. You can use it to clear mobs, but ideally use it to kill a boss. If you want to use a different thing while you're clearing mobs, you can use Eye of the Winter. It will increase a lot of critical hits and your damage, but keep in mind that it will use much more mana. So if you want to have less work while you're fighting a boss or while you're clearing a map, just leave Frost Wall there and it will work pretty well. Alright? So, as I said, pretty easy. Shattering Concoction to clear maps, Eye of the Winter and the Hypothermia on a boss, and then Shattering Concoction, and just use it again, Eye of the Winter and Hypothermia, when you notice that those buffs I've finished, and then you need to recast them, and just keep spamming Shattering Concoction, and eventually the boss will be dead pretty fast. Alright, Frost Wall, it's really good, it will do a lot of damage, especially with these support gems. Alright, if you guys have any question, comment below in the comments, I'll be happy to help you. I'm gonna leave the link below with the Mobalytics guide, so you guys can go there, check if I missed everything. I'm pretty sure it will be there, but if you have any more questions, comment below, I'll be happy to help you and answer all your questions. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave that like, subscribe to my channel to follow more content about Path of Exile 2. We are really waiting for that big patch with more stuff and more builds to create on the patch 0.2.0. Hope you guys been enjoying playing this game. Thank you for watching this video and see you next time.